Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on WakeUpCallDT.com, your one-stop sports shop, mixlr.com/WakeUpCallDT, where you are listening in. And of course, here on Facebook Live on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT and on YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT. Very proud to have in the building somebody who embodies this and that is Leo Rautins here with us, played for Syracuse and obviously works in the TV world with the Toronto Raptors, has done that for a very long time with TSN, NBA TV Canada, and company Sportsnet as well. So with that being said, Leo, welcome back to the show.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? All right? Always a pleasure.
I'm doing well, and good to finally have you on video. What's life like? I know you go back and forth, right, from living in America to living in Canada. So where are we finding you today?
No going back and forth right now. I'm in Toronto, and we have the quarantine up here. So teams playing in Tampa, and we do everything out of Toronto because, like I said, you cross the border, you come back, it's 15 days in quarantine. So no can do.
15 days, and is it still a fine and thrown in like Canadian jail? I know there was some type of government facility if you had corona. So I mean, are things lifted a little bit at all, or is it still that scary?
No, it's okay. It's not quite like that. It's obviously if you fly into the country and you have the virus, yeah, you're going to be isolated. That's the way it should be. But they're also, if you fly in, you can be isolated at a hotel, and you basically have to, pay for that. However, if you drive over the border, it's a different kind of category. But either way, you're looking at a quarantine, and when you're playing every night or every other night, can't afford to sit in a quarantine for 15 days. So unfortunately, no traveling.
So we talked about it a little bit before, Leo, but what has life been like for you navigating through this? I mean, living in the same world as you do, as far as sports media and being creative. It's kind of funny that I was already doing a lot of this stuff. So to live in this world that changed with Corona, to me, it really didn't change that much. But to be a commentator that's usually on the floor, right there on the sidelines doing the game, your life has changed dramatically in this virtual world. How have you navigated it? And what can you tell me about how you've handled it up to this point?
Well, it's definitely different, right? You miss a lot. For example, in game action, we had a few things happen last few days where you don't see everything that's going on, right? You're basically looking at what the viewer's looking at. Normally we're on the court, we can hear the referees, we can hear the players, you can hear the coaches, you can see things that is away from the camera, off screen. So you're missing all that. So you're kind of trying to figure it out on the fly and going with what and we do have some other information, but it's certainly limited compared to what it would be like if you're there. As well, when you go to games, when I get to an arena at 4:30 for a 7:30 game,
yeah,
you're mingling with everybody, right? You're talking to GMs, coaches, scouts, players, media. It's a who's who of the sports world, and you gained a tremendous amount of information. Quite honestly, 2 hours before a game, you have enough information to do 10 games, and so now you're sourcing in a completely different manner. You don't have that, and there's a difference too when you're casually bumping into people and talking to people. Like I said, it's casual, so a lot comes out. People say a lot. You get a lot of information that you don't normally get. So it's very different in that respect.
So, for you in that way, how have you tried to continue that creativity since you don't have that couple hours before a game to be inside of the arena and walk around and have those really, face-to-face human interactions, real interactions? How have you tried to, in a way, get those still, or create or foster building relationships that aren't as easy when you're not face-to-face?
Well, I mean, you still have the relationships, and you're texting, talking, you're still communicating with people. But again, it's just like I said, it's just not the same when everybody's kind of there, right? You're not inconveniencing anybody. You're right there. You're all kind of there for the same reason. Whereas now, everybody's working off their phones and off their TVs and computers and so forth. So you don't know when you're catching somebody. Everything's kind of a little different. So you're still doing it. Like I said, you're still in that world, and you're still constantly communicating. It's just not the same.
So for you, Leo, like, how has this challenged you? I mean, you've done it for so long. So where have you been challenged? Where do you find that you've grown? I mean, how has this past year made a better version of yourself, in your opinion? Like, where have you tried to kind of, accelerate a little bit and see it, not necessarily a different side of Leo Rautins, but how has it made you kind of, just like in a game, if somebody forces you one way, you got to learn how to go the other. If someone takes away this shot, you got to create this. How are you essentially creating your own shot, so to speak?
I think the two words I would use are patience and flexibility. We're all in this together, so you got to be patient. Everybody's going through different things, and you got to be flexible. You got to be willing to adapt to whatever the situation is. And I think patience is something we all work on all the time. Flexibility, that's not a big deal. From playing to coaching to doing this business, I think it's important to be flexible. I think it's important to be able to change on a fly and not get rattled, not get worried about it. Whatever the case may be, you kind of roll with the punches. That's really it. I mean, I don't know if it makes you better or worse. I just know that you do what you got to do. Simple as that. And you can complain about it, talk about it, whine about it. It's not going to make a bit of difference. You just got to go out and do it and find the best way to do it.
Here with Leo Rautins of Syracuse history, and obviously in the playing world, the coaching world, and in the TV analyst world, and working with the Raptors for so many years. Scotiabank Arena, I mean, it has been an empty box. How strange is that for you, knowing that you can't go back and forth? I mean, you have the ability typically to be here in America and over in Canada as well, and be able to flow pretty freely. To be up there and to see this arena just quiet, Jurassic Park quiet. What has that been like to you, and how surreal of an experience has that been?
Yeah, it's almost like it's almost like a Twilight Zone, right? You're walking around. Like, we actually broadcast the games from Scotiabank Arena. They've converted the practice court, the Raptors practice court, into basically a studio.
Yeah.
And all the games are called from there. So it's like I said, you're at a practice gym, you walk out, the arena's empty. There's no people. You walk to the game, there's nobody there. You leave the game, the streets are empty. It is very, very different. Like I said, it feels like you're in some kind of a Twilight Zone show. Sometimes the Toronto Maple Leafs are playing the same time the Raptors are. So we'll be in the studio. You walk out, during a halftime, and you kind of walk into the arena and you look down and you're watching a Leafs play. And again, just piped in noise, no people in the stands. So it's very, very different. It's like I said, it's things are stricter here, right? Much stricter as far as allowing, there's no crowds allowed, not even minimal amounts of crowds. The pandemic, as far as containment, not talking vaccine, but just trying to contain the pandemic, has been handled extremely well in Canada. Specifically, a big city like Toronto, our cases, our deaths are minimal compared to a lot of American cities, and that's one of the reasons that the Raptors weren't allowed to play here, because they weren't just going to allow teams to fly in and out and not quarantine and not take all the safety precautions.
So I mean, it's been a hard road up in Canada because it's been so strict, but do you see a silver lining? I mean, obviously you talked about the death toll is far lower, and trying to contain it and whatnot, but what have you seen in this past year, and how resilient is Toronto?
Well, I mean, hey, I think we're all, nothing's going to be normal for a while. That's for sure. And it's all hinging on the vaccine. I mean, we need people vaccinated. And until you get the lion's share of Canada, United States vaccinated, we're going to have problems. And so I think that's a big hurdle. United States is doing I think with Biden in office, has been doing a great job of getting that moving. I think there's still a lot of people reluctant, but somehow that's got to be dealt with, because like I said, we need, if you really want true herd immunity, you're going to have people vaccinated. And it's been difficult here because the Raptors have been completely uprooted as a team. Hockey's a little different, where they basically formed a North Division with the Canadian teams, and they're all playing each other, so there's no border traffic. But with basketball, Canada, Toronto being the only NBA team, not something you can do. So having to reroute literally, for the Toronto, its bottom line is you're playing 72 road games. That's really what it boils down to, because even the fans that they allow in, I think the last game that might have been 3,500 in Tampa. A lot of those people have no vested interest in the Toronto Raptors. They're there to see an NBA game, maybe like Utah, maybe like Boston, whatever. So it's not like any home court. I mean, truly nobody really has a home court this season, but for Toronto, it's especially that way, because all your routines, all your normal things, everything's out the window. So it's been a real challenge that no other team in the NBA has had to face.
And having that challenge, we talked about how Toronto had struggled a bit and then started to seemingly catch a stride. And obviously the struggle continues. But what have you seen from the team this season, through your eyes, covering them for as long as you had? I mean, can you attribute a lot of it to not being at home, not being able to get comfortable? Like you said, 72 road games. I mean, is this team just looking uncharacteristic of themselves because of the unique situation of the pandemic, or is there something else?
No, first of all, I think the whole NBA is looking uncharacteristic. I mean, think about it. You could be 9 games under 500, go on a 4-game win streak, be right back in the mix. it's crazy right now. And the Raptors, so the beginning of the season, they basically 2 weeks before the season, before training camp, they're getting uprooted. And so things started out very difficult. But then, the Raptors started out like 2-8, and then they had one of the top records in the East. But then they had COVID safety protocol. You had 3 starters, 3 key two-way players, Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, and OG Anunoby, go out into COVID protocol. And you're missing 3 key players for almost 3 weeks. And there's not many teams in the NBA that can absorb that. And so it's been a struggle for the Toronto Raptors. And then, what people forget, everybody says, okay, you get COVID, you come back, you go play. Well, okay, go get double pneumonia, sit in your room for 20 days, and then come back and run 10 miles, see how it goes for you.
Yeah.
And fans have to understand that when, Pascal Siakam lost 10 pounds, Fred VanVleet said he wouldn't wish this on anybody, getting COVID. And then to step out on the basketball court and think you're going to be anywhere close to what you can be is insane. And so that's really what's put the Raptors in a tailspin, and as well as a few other injuries. And it can happen to any team in this league. I mean, look at the Lakers right now. You've got AD out, you lose LeBron. Any team in the league tomorrow could have the same thing happen to them. 2-3 key players go into COVID protocol, and your season could be in jeopardy. So it's a crazy time right now, and it's been extremely difficult for the Raptors because of all these things. And there's there's the hope is that you get healthy, you stay healthy to whatever degree that may be, and you go back to doing what you did when you got up to 500 and you were one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. Because during that spell, they beat Philadelphia, they beat Milwaukee, they beat the Nets, they beat all the teams up ahead, everybody. So they know they can do it, but you can't do it if you don't have your bodies.
That coming here from Leo Rautins on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. Leo, with the fact that so many things can change at the drop of a dime because of the pandemic, and like you said, okay, you go out and you come back and play. It's not that simple. You have to get your body right and come, steadily. I mean, just to get up out of bed for some people that get it bad, and to be able to breathe and feel comfortable in your own skin to do normal basic things, let alone get back to work, let alone do what they do and run like gazelles for a couple hours. So was it the right decision to have a season, in your opinion?
Well, it's if you like sports, you better have a season, because if you don't have a season, all these sports are going to die. You have to have revenues, right? You better at the very least get your TV revenues. The All-Star game, a lot of people were critical of the All-Star game. You're looking at what, 30, 50 million, something like that, revenues involved in the All-Star weekend. You need that money right now. If you want a league to survive with minimal fans in arenas, you have to play. So, the NBA has done whatever they can do, as other sports leagues, to make it as safe as possible. When you're in the middle of a pandemic, nothing is truly safe.
Yeah.
My big concern is, there's so many unknowns, right? Whether you're an athlete or not, whether you're playing or not, there's so many unknowns as to, what COVID-19 is doing to your body, your brain, your lungs, your heart, your blood, that you may feel fine. You may have nothing more than what seems like a cold, and other people have died. And we don't know what the longer term ramifications of this thing are at this point. Nobody can truly say they know. So it's a scary thing. So you still have to live, you still have to function, you still have to, like I said, you still have to work. You still got to make money, make a living, and these teams have to still survive and find a way to get through this.
Yeah, and I think that, that's like you said. I mean, if you wanna keep going, you gotta find a way to do it. The bubble worked very successfully down in Orlando at Walt Disney World, but obviously a different amount of games for sure, by a lot. Should we have had a shortened season where there was just a bubble and everybody was in one place? Would that have made more sense? I mean, should we go to that sooner? Should we shift to that model toward the end of the season for the playoffs? I mean, what would you like to see happen? And I mean, do you think the bubble's the way to go, because we actually really, outside of a case here or there, didn't have any issue down in Florida?
Well, I think the bubble's unrealistic for a season. You remember there was only a small part of the season left in playoffs when they went to the bubble. And so that was really the only way you were going to salvage the season. There was a lot more time to prepare. You had different protocols they could put in place. And if you think about it, if you look at the numbers of cases, it's relatively low. I mean, the NBA has done a great job, and you got to give credit to players and team personnel for doing whatever they have to do. But I mean, it's not a massive outbreak, right? But it doesn't have to be to have a major impact. Like I said, for a team like the Raptors, it's had a horrendous impact. For other teams, they haven't been affected by it, and that's what we're living. It's no different than out. You walk the streets. Some people haven't been touched by it. Other people have lost, countless family members. So it's no different, in this situation. So I think all the pro leagues right now, they're doing what they can to survive and get to a point where, when fans can finally be in arenas.
Adam Silver heading up the NBA. What type of job do you think he's done with the pandemic, and what type of job do you think he's done overall as the commissioner?
I think Adam Silver is a great commissioner. I think he's done an amazing job. He communicates extremely well. He understands, the media and dealing with every. Sorry, that's my cat. Get out of here. But just what they did, man. You go back a year ago, and the NBA did not hesitate. They shut the league down, and when they shut the league down, basically the world followed. And if you remember, the United States was being led by somebody that was, dismissing this whole pandemic and saying, hey, this, when the weather gets better, it'll be gone, and maybe inject some bleach. you think of what the countless lives Adam Silver and the NBA saved by taking that action. Because, like I said, there were global ramifications when the NBA shut down. Leagues around the world shut down. It brought, I think, the right attention to this pandemic. So, Adam Silver has always been, a leader in many, many ways, and the NBA has always been a leader in many, many ways. So, how they did the bubble, I mean, they set the example of how to try to bring a league back safely, and they did it. All the social issues, social unrest, everything that was going on at the time, the NBA led in that category as well. Try to bring attention to all that, and then the restart of this season. I think Adam Silver's done a great job. It's just, I think people have to be realistic, and nothing's going to be perfect. Nothing's going to go without any issues. But they've tried to plan and accommodate for anything that could potentially happen. For example, that's why you only had a first half of the season schedule released, because they knew there would be games missed and games suspended and games put off. And so, everything is done with a great deal of thought, and also putting the health of the athletes first and foremost.
So, I mean, for you seeing the NBA have that pull, Leo, I mean, I remember last year I was supposed to be going down to Greensboro for the ACC tournament, and it was, I don't know, my 6th or 7th or whatever it may be. And I was getting ready to go down. It was a Monday, and I had a feeling like, let me see what's happening. Let me see what's going on. And long story short, one of the guys that I know down there that broadcasts and writes and covers the teams, especially in Carolina, he shot me a text on the way to a live event I was doing with West Genesee High School here in the community. And he said, hey, there's a couple cases that came through Charlotte Airport. I'll update you. And then he said, there could be 5 more cases in Raleigh. So then I was thinking maybe I shouldn't go. And then that night, right before I went to bed, around like 10 o'clock or something like that, around the ticker came on the bottom line, and it said the NBA, the MLB, the NHL, and the MLS are all going to restrict media to the locker rooms. And I, like you, I build relationships, face to face, one-on-one. And so I'm like, well, if you take the locker room away, like that's where I sit with these guys, sit at their locker, get to know them. So at that point, I was like, I feel like the ACC is going to follow suit. And the next morning, sure enough, about 12 hours later, they did it. Did you think the NBA always had that much of a pull? Did you think they had that much of respect and a command to make a decision like that, and that the world would domino effect? Or were you surprised at how quickly the rest of the world said, oh, okay, if the NBA is doing it, it must be serious?
No, I'm not surprised. Like I said, the NBA has been a leader in all areas of sports management. Like I said, social issues impacting players in all sorts of walks of life, and people and things like that. So no, I'm not surprised whatsoever. I think it's almost as if people were waiting for somebody to take a stand, right? People were waiting, everybody's scared, everybody's worried, everybody's concerned, but nobody's really sure what to do. When one of the most powerful leagues in the world says, okay, now we're done, we're shutting this thing down. People listen and people followed. And like I said, you have to think that many, tens of thousands of lives were saved as a result of that.
And we look at your alma mater of Syracuse. The team was not immune to this either. Jim Boeheim had it going into the season. We learned during the season that Buddy also had it, Frank Anselem, Joe Girard III, potentially Marek Dolezaj as well. Seeing it hit home for you, and then hit home in a way in that respect too at Syracuse, and then the news of Jim Boeheim having it, knowing that this is a man in his 70s, getting up there, getting closer to 80 than 70. What went through your head when it hit Syracuse and it hit other places, and even Jim Boeheim, who to a lot of people looks like immune to anything over these last 45 years, that he had to navigate through it as well?
No, it's scary, right? It's see, I thought there was a great deal more risk with college basketball than the NBA. NBA, you're talking about professional athletes, that there's a lot of people involved in managing their lives and team situations. And, There's a great deal to risk, excuse me, financially. It's an easier environment to control. With NCAA, you talk about kids on campus, and they're kids, right? They're young guys, and they want to see their friends and do things kids do, and so it's a much more volatile and explosive environment for a pandemic. So I was very concerned, and of course, the older you get, the more risk there is. So for coach, when I heard he got it, obviously you say your prayers and you hope it works out okay. And like I said, the crazy thing with this, I have friends that have serious health issues, that are compromised, that got it and had nothing more than sniffles.
Yeah.
I've had friends that are healthy, younger, and I had one that was in ICU for 2 months and nearly died twice. So, and I got more examples of both sides. So, like I said, it's scary, right? And so, obviously, I was very concerned, and I think you see as well. I sporadically I saw some things where, like Girardi, I think, was talking about how he just wasn't feeling right for a while, right? And I think you get that with Jason Tatum in the NBA with the Celtics said he still doesn't feel right, and statistically you could see differences in his game, and I think that's the scary part. Somebody says, okay, I got it, it wasn't that bad. We don't know that. You don't know that. Like I said, you don't know the lasting effects of something that, like I said, affects your lungs and your heart and your blood, and like I said, who knows what, right? So that's the scary part. And I think the fact that Syracuse was able to kind of regroup and put this great end of the season run together was the fact that whether it be Girardi, Buddy, just getting healthy, right? Just getting back on track, getting your confidence back, getting your legs back, your stamina, to allow you to play and compete at a high level. So, it's a lot of it's timing, right? Like Virginia, bad timing. VCU, bad timing, right? So, Syracuse got it earlier, and hopefully nothing touches them between now and when they win the championship.
Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, this has been a very interesting NCAA tournament. I don't know how much you've paid attention to it, but Gonzaga, are you surprised? I mean, the only team that looks normal this year is Gonzaga. I mean, Duke did not, Kentucky did not, Kansas just got blown out by USC despite making the tournament. A lot of these teams don't look like themselves. Gonzaga, who had a start and stop, they had a series of games that they had to, postpone and whatnot in the season, early in the season. But the only undefeated team out of over 300 in Division I men's basketball. Does it surprise you that Gonzaga is the only team that looks normal? And what does it say about them that they seemingly navigated through this better than anybody as far as their record states, their seeding states, and what they've been able to do?
Well, obviously that's a very deep, talented team, right? So the deeper you are, the more talented you are. You can, things sway your way in a lot of areas. So and there's luck, right? There's luck involved in all this for everybody, and you got to give them credit for staying focused through all this, because that's what you're seeing right now, right? That this is a season unlike any other season. You have teams. There's no home court really, right? Yeah. So going to the Carrier Dome or going to play at Duke, it doesn't matter. Who cares? You're just going into an empty arena. Players don't have the release that they normally have, whether it's hanging out with your friends, going out, doing things. You don't have that release, the escape. So a lot of things are very, very different. It's the same at the pro level, right? It's professional athletes are nocturnal creatures, right? You travel late at night, you socialize late at night. All that's gone. You can't do any of that. And like I said, you go into San Francisco to play Golden State, and that's one of the best crowds in the NBA, and there's nothing, right? The Scotiabank Arena, you don't even get to play in front of one of the best crowds in the NBA. So it's very different for everybody. It's very different for everybody right now. And Gonzaga, has had luck, but they got a tremendous program and talent and depth that may get them to the top.
And we look at this very interesting tournament so far and what's been happening with seeding and all of that. Do you get excited for it? I mean, I know you played in the NIT a couple times at Syracuse, played in the NCAA, got to the second round of the tournament. Like, do you get excited to watch it? Do you spend some time with it? I mean, we've seen a 15 seed Oral Roberts win 2, Sister Jean and Loyola Chicago looking to push again, just like they did a couple of years ago. Syracuse is in 11. It almost seems better to put Syracuse as a double-digit seed than a 1 or anything else. I mean, I know they won as a 3, but seeing a lot of these teams, the Ohios, like you mentioned, Virginia, bad timing, a 13 seed was able to move forward. UCLA, a play-in team, has won a couple games. Are you watching this tournament? Do you love it? Are you hoping that Loyola Chicago and an Oral Roberts and teams like that make it farther? I mean, what's your take on all that?
I can't watch a lot, to be honest with you. The NBA schedule is pretty crazy right now, and I'm not doing any NCAA this season, so I'm pretty much locked in on the NBA. I catch a game here or there, and obviously I'd like to see Syracuse continue to go and do well, but I think the days of like I said, on top of everything we talked about, how this year is so different, I think the days of these power conferences and these mid majors and smaller schools being so radically different are over. You see tremendous talent at all levels, and it's an NCAA tournament. Whether you got crowd or not, it's a tremendous amount of pressure, right? Every game is televised. Everybody's talking. You're a high seed playing against a low seed. There's the pressure going both ways, the whole bit. So anything can happen, and you're talking about kids, right? You're talking about kids, so anything can happen. And I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised by top teams going down. That I think we're going to see where we continue to see that more and more and more. Dan, you used to be able to turn on a TV, and if it was Syracuse playing, I'm just throwing names out of the big, small. If you saw Syracuse playing a Cornell back in my day, all you had to do was turn on a TV and which team was which, just by physically looking at the players. Yeah. Forget the uniform. You would just know which team is which. Now you turn on the TV, you wouldn't know the difference between UCLA and Monmouth. Everybody's got athletes. Everybody's got guys that can swing off the rim. And what happens is, because you got athletes, you can play defense, you can rebound. And when all the pressure is on the higher seed, right? All you got to do is get hot. If you get hot, make some buckets, get a lead, let that game come down to the wire close. The pressure keeps building, and anything can happen. But like I said, when you have athletes across the board now, big or small school, you can do two things that you might not have been able to do years ago, and that's defend with anybody and rebound with anybody.
Speaking here with Leo Rautins for a few more minutes here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. Syracuse, your history, your time there, remembering the time that you had in the postseason and everything you went through there. Student athletes have had a year plus, unlike anything we've ever witnessed. Do you think you could have gone through a time like this if you were a student athlete right now? And what would be your advice to them, knowing that you got to have the full college experience?
I mean, could I do it? Yeah, I guess so. I mean, but what's your choice, right? You have any choice. You do what you got to do. So, nobody's ever had anything like this. And if you want to play, you got to follow all the rules. You got to do everything you can to play. And I think most of these kids want to play, and they don't want to do anything to jeopardize that. Academics are all different right now in terms of how different schools are handling all that. So you're missing out on a lot of that college experience, and that's a shame. And that's the big fun of it, to be able to, for a lot of these guys, play in a Carrier Dome, go out in Marshall Street, have fun, meet people, take it all in, go to class, and the whole bit. So there's nothing you can do. So I would think that my desire to win, my desire to play, would help me get through that. And if you look at it compare an athlete to an average student, at least the athlete does have that, right? You can go to the gym, you can do what you love to do to help, kind of distract you.
Yeah.
I think you talk to most athletes, and you have a lot of people that have gone through horrible things in their lives, right? A lot of players have, had terrible experiences growing up, and their release was always, I'd go to the park and I'd shoot. I'd go to the gym and I'd shoot. So basketball or football, whatever your sport might be, that's your release. That's where you found peace. So even in this environment, I think it's kind of a saving grace that you could still play.
Yeah. And so as we spin back to the NBA and speaking on still playing, what teams, in your opinion, Leo, are for real? From what we're seeing, we hear about, who contender, pretender all the time, like who's there, who's going to stay there, who's going to last there, so to speak. So on the Eastern side, Philadelphia, Brooklyn, are these teams that are starting to elevate, obviously Brooklyn, that had a lot of firepower last year, but kind of saved it, got healthy, and is utilizing it now. Philadelphia, Brooklyn, in your opinion, even in Atlanta, they're in the top 5. Like, are we seeing the real here? And on the other side, Utah and Phoenix, is that the real with the other LA teams, still within the top 4? Who right now do you really say that hasn't been up there is maybe impressing you the most, and who you think maybe will stay at the top as we get ready for the playoffs?
Well, I don't think there are any great teams. Okay, I think everybody's beatable. So I think that's an important point. I think I heard somebody announcers doing an NBA game, and they said there's so much parity because there's so many great teams. I disagree. I think there's a lot of good teams, a lot of decent teams. Some of the better teams, like I said, a Brooklyn, they're a unique team. They got a lot of talent. If they get hot, they can beat anybody, right? They got so much firepower, but they're still beatable. They're still beatable. The Lakers with LeBron, when he's healthy and that team's healthy, just having LeBron on the floor makes all the difference. That they're a contender. They're right there. All the other teams, it's you're rolling the dice, right? I mean, Milwaukee's good. Philadelphia is good. The Clippers are good. Utah is good. Phoenix is good. So it's really, I think this is a season where anybody can win. And when I say anybody, among those top teams I mentioned, you've got a lot of teams, Atlanta, Charlotte, teams like that, like I said, it's early. Look at the Knicks where they are. It's early.
Yeah.
Halfway, little over halfway. And like I said, things can change dramatically. You lose 4 games, you can drop way down, or you win, not way down, but you win 4 games, you're right back in. Like I said, you can go from 10th to 5th in a week. So there's some teams that are just going to be around, but the top teams, as I mentioned, the ones that I mentioned, they're good teams, but nobody's a lock to win anything.
Paint me a picture when you're doing these broadcasts. So like you said, they took the practice court at Scotiabank and turned it into essentially a studio. Bring me into what it looks like for you. What are you watching? What are you seeing? Like, paint me how you get to engulf yourself to the best of your ability into the game.
Well, they just try to create the best environment for us. So, we're separated by plexiglass, myself and my partner, Matt Devlin, not just plexiglass, but he's a good 10, 12 feet away from me. But we're kind of angled so we can see each other.
Yeah.
As well as in front of me, I have like a 60-inch screen. And so the main game would be right there. I have a big stat monitor that's like a 30-inch, 40-inch screen, all the stats. And there's another just a monitor that shows the whole court, right? So if you're watching a game like me, and a player falls down, well, the camera's going down the other way with the ball. I can look on that big screen and see the whole court, and I can see that player, whether he's getting up or not, or whether the trainers are running over, whatever. So you kind of have that big picture view. And really, that's it. I mean, that's what we have in front of us. And we just kind of go off of that. And then, I think the big thing is communication with who you're working with, right? Normally you're sitting right next to each other. You hit each other, you tap each other, you're out, you really make physical contact a lot of times, to make your point, or, tell somebody to be quiet, or, whatever. There's a lot of interaction. So that's kind of taken away. So you kind of have to do it visually, from a distance. But other than that, that's pretty much the setup. And we have access to, our producers and directors have access to information that can come into them, and they can pass it along to us of things that we may not be able to see or hear. But other than that's pretty much the setup.
So do you feel like it's going on? I mean, does it feel seamless now? Do you feel like once you've gotten into the swing of things with all these games having gone on, is it kind of, muscle memory at this point, even though it's different, obviously, by the look of you physically doing it, but when it goes on camera and you're there with your partner, does it feel like it's gotten back to normal?
I mean, it's our normal, right? It's like
Yeah.
everybody else. See, everybody's got their new normal. So, um, I'm not looking at this as some kind of a major adjustment. I mean, it is what it is, right? I've done games, I've done international games off a monitor, because obviously they're not going to be flying us to Brazil or Mexico, whoever it may be, for games, oftentimes. So yeah, I've done this before. So it's not something that's brand new. And like I said, this is our normal, right? This is our normal. Everybody would like to be in an arena calling a game, but it's not happening. So you come in each day, and this is what you do.
And it seems like, I mean, you have some fun with it. I know on social media, you post different pictures and things, you make faces to different things that have happened and whatnot. So, it looks like you're trying to engage on social media and get people to have fun and kind of, be on the lighter side of things, which I think is helpful too.
Well, we do a lot of things during the game that's interactive with on social media. Rappers have a big following on social media. And I like to have fun. I mean, we're talking basketball, right? It's not brain surgery. It's not it's the economy in Asia. We're talking hoops. So it's fun. I don't like to overcomplicate it. I like to have a good time. And you got to remember there's no energy in a dark room, right? You got to bring the energy. So you have to bring energy so your fans can feel that energy. And I think that's the other point, that sports is a big release for people right now. It's an opportunity to kind of forget all the troubles, forget what's going on, see your team, cheer, have fun. Raptor fans, as many other fans, are very passionate. So, I think it's very important to be cognizant of the fact that this is very important, maybe more so than ever, with everything going on, and all the pain and strife and issues in people's lives today. So I try to really bring a positive, and Matt Devlin as well, my partner, we try to bring a real positive energy. Have a few laughs, keep it light, and make it an enjoyable experience if someone's listening to the game.
Has it reinvigorated you? I mean, I know you've loved sports for such a long time, loved basketball. Has the thought of like, hey, you know what? Like, we're positive before, we did stuff before, but even more so now, people need it. Do you feel that on your shoulders? Does it bring a new type of excitement or vigor to you at this point?
I don't know if I call it that. I just think it's like I said, I think it's a responsibility, right? I mean, we have the privilege of doing this job. There's a lot of people that don't have a job right now. There's a lot of people that are struggling. So I generally like to stay very positive, and I want people to feel that. I want people to feel a positive energy. I want people, like I said, to be able to relax, forget about their troubles for a couple hours, have some fun. So I think it's just being aware, right? It's just being aware of what's going on. It's everybody's got something that they're dealing with right now. Everybody, including us, including me, my partner, everyone. We all have something. So I think we all just have to be aware of that, and do our best to make it better for everybody.
Coming from Leo Rautins, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. In closing, Leo, 2 questions. I like that you obviously speak for a living. I get to do that too. Go ahead and throw me on the hot seat with 2.
No, I don't know.
Anything in the world. I got crazy.
Who's going to win? Who's going to win? Who's going to win the tournament? Who's going to win the tournament?
Who's going to win the tournament? I have Gonzaga. I would love to see Loyola Chicago or Syracuse come out of their bracket, but it's been a long, long time coming for the Zags, and they deserve it.
All right, give me an NBA champion.
Oh Lord, I feel like this season it's going to come out of the East. Philadelphia and Brooklyn are dangerous. I would love to see Toronto get better, find their footing, but I want to believe in Utah. I really do. I want to believe in Utah, and Phoenix caught their stride at the end of last season, and then they kind of have kept it going now. So, I'm up for a new champion, seeing someone different. But if I had to answer now, I'd probably lean more on the side of Philly or Brooklyn. But I really, really want like Utah or Phoenix to be real, because especially Utah, it's been such a long, long time for Utah. So what do you think? Do you have one?
That's all I got. So I'm not on the hot seat.
Fair enough. I thought I could sneak one in there, but that coming from
Nope.
Leo Rautins and obviously Sportsnet, NBA TV, Canada, TSN. Thank you for all the work you do, Leo, and for your time at Syracuse. Say hi to Andy and the whole family. And as always, I respect you, appreciate our friendship, and always look forward to talking with you.
I appreciate it, Dan. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.